Yesterday, at some point, we brought out this item on stage and we asked you if you know what it was. And immediately someone knew what it was. It was a time capsule. And we said that in all the conversations that we're having during the Impact Days, we should always keep in mind that we might come up with ideas or thoughts that should not only last here for those 2 days, but that should actually go beyond, maybe be a message that we can send to future generations. And here it is again, the time capsule. And just for you to understand the sincerity of this time capsule will go back to an organization called International Time Capsule Society. Yes, it exists. It will be registered by Mercer and Impact Hub, and it will be then held in a secret location for 100 years. So your messages that will go into this time capsule will actually be stored for 100 years and then hopefully be found by future generations. So in order to find these messages, I welcome with me on stage Mark Mertens, and he will, together with Thomas Winkelmann, they're both from 100 Years School, tell us how we can come up with this important message to future generations. Welcome with me, Mark Mertens.
Hello. I got a call from Alexis because of that 100-year time capsule. My company is called 100 Year School. It's very rare people call because a 100-year thing comes up in their life. It's a pleasure to be here. The last days have been very inspiring, a huge gift, incredible set of connections, inspiration, and a really beautiful community in action. And the key to making the Impact Days have impact and to move the learnings into what Charlie Kleisner so eloquently called deep impact is to take what we've learned into our own lives. And I predict 2 key challenges from my own life and being at these kind of conferences. One is that the life that's waiting for us out there is the life we left on Thursday, and it's usually not quite as optimistic and filled with so many opportunities and big ideas as what we just experienced. So how do we actually show up in that world with what we were given? And the second piece is that we all are leaving here with more challenges, the awareness of more possibilities. And almost every single speaker gave us a call to action. And I feel a bit overwhelmed with that sometimes because I simply don't have the capacity to follow all these calls of actions, even though I believe in them. So what we're inviting you in here in the last 15 minutes of this conference is to begin to distill what you have received and to filter out what really deeply moves you, what you feel called to from your core to actually bring into the world, 1 or 2 things. And my belief is that much of the systemic change we heard about always begins at the heart of the individual and the conviction that's built at the heart of the individual that actually allows us to have the resilience to change these systems. And at the 100-Year School, we use the governing principles of nature as a way to connect with who we are and what we're here to contribute to the world we want to inhabit and leave behind. And we believe that what's needed for a world in which humanity and the planet can thrive is a shift of our relationship to nature. There's only 2 quick slides I want to show. A shift from the left, the old paradigm, where the self just sits inside of this extractive, exponentially growth-based economy. That's the world I grew up in, where making a profit today was more important than making sure there's a livelihood for future generations. And it led us to a world where nature and society seems to be in decline. We heard a lot about regenerative and inclusive economies, and we believe the way to get to those regenerative inclusive economies is to have the self not be solely referenced inside of the economy, but equally oriented at the natural systems. And this shift in orientation can actually support a shift in our own values or societal values from short-term to long-term, from conquering nature, which has been a stance we've been in for a while as humanity, to realizing we in fact are nature, from doing good in a bad system to actually inventing a better system, from being so individualistically minded to becoming collectively minded. So we've witnessed people making some of those shifts as we generally take them out into nature for extended periods of time to begin to have that experience with nature. So it's probably no coincidence that in a time where humanity mastered to shield itself from nature, that this community is also shielded from nature by at least a meter of brick and marble and windows from the next patch of grass that we could sit down in. But we prepared a short experience for you to begin to touch into some of the magic we usually see when we take leaders out into nature. And I'm going to invite on audio Thomas Winkelmann, my partner, who's dialing in from Athens, Greece. Thomas, are you with us?
I am.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone from Athens. I'm sorry I can't be physically with you, but I will try my very best to be present in this slightly limited medium. So thanks, Mark, for the handover. We have very little time right now, but in this little time, let's create a big space. Indulge me in an experiment, one last one, these last days that I'm sure you've experienced quite a few. We set ourselves a challenge, Mark and I, the other day when this invitation emerged, to give you a glimpse into the power of one of nature's governing principles and to see how that might support you in reflecting on the days that have passed, perhaps a slightly different way. So when you tap into your own knowledge and experience of nature, contend with this idea here. Everything in nature moves slow to medium slow, except when in danger. If you think about that, think about sort of how you've experienced, animals and just natural rhythms. It's sort of mostly true. It's also fascinating how that sometimes contrasts with the human-made world that we inhabit every day. Think about that too. Something like healing doesn't happen fast. A wound will not heal in a day. And that's just one example. So, there's no trees and meadows in this room, but nature is nonetheless everywhere. Here, inside all of you. So, in the next 2 minutes, I'd like you to close your eyes, take in the music, and pay attention to this amazing thing called your breath. And this is not a meditation exercise. The breath perfectly captures that principle. It is nature. It is nature inside you. And it is your own embodiment of that principle. It's your body the way it's meant to be. So for the next 2 minutes, and I know that can feel so long, it's just 2 little minutes. Pay attention to your breath. Just be with it. Pay attention to it. Okay. Okay, so you can open up your eyes again. Come back. So now turn your attention to this magical time capsule that was just presented earlier on. And imagine someone opening it in 100 years' time and finding a note from you in it. So now think for 5 minutes, we'll give you some space. Think about in the last 2 days, a whisper that maybe has become louder for you in your mind, maybe even become a shout in these last days. What has really animated you? What urgent, significant thing has surfaced or resurfaced for you? What might you do differently tomorrow? What have you discovered or rediscovered that you feel is worth sharing with someone in the year 2122, 100 years' time? What's making you restless, scared about this world you live in today? What's giving you hope? So for those in the room, physically, you can write your note on a piece of paper. And for those online, you can use the Slido. And we'll make sure that everyone's note makes it into the capsule. So I want to thank you for the 8 minutes of your time that you've given us for this little reflection. And you have 5 minutes now, 4 or 5 minutes, to think about that note that's going to go into the time capsule. I'll send you back into the soundscape. And thank you very much.
So as you have your notes to someone 100 years from now, we invite you to come up on stage and drop it in the time capsule and actually stay up on stage with us when you do it.
May I be the first? So I'm putting my message for the future generations into our time capsule, and I invite all of you to come up on stage and do it like me. And with this, I'm walking off stage, and I free up space for you to come up here. Because in the end, if we want to change society, we don't need one person to stand in front of us. We need a lot of us to actually listen deeply within ourselves to those tiny whispers that have become shouts. And we need those voices to grow and all of us to step forward together into the same direction. And on that way, we might find more people who are just as courageous as we are. These are people that we might want to collaborate with. So that together, we can not only send messages to, but also set actions with, and together create a hopeful reality for future generations to come. And with this, we're ending the Impact Days 22. And I'm saying thank you to our partners, the European Venture Philanthropy Association, Erste Social Finance, Erste Bank, Austrian Research Promotion Agency, Austria Wirtschaftsservice, Vienna Business Agency, Austrian Federal Economic Chamber, Tonic, Vienna Up 22, The Hybrid Stage, and Paper Town. I invite all of you once more to come up with your messages now, and I really hope to see a lot of you again next year in the Hofburg, and the date will once be more June the 2nd and June the 3rd. So thank you so much for being with us, and we're very much looking forward to seeing you again in 2023. Goodbye.